So. Okay. Welcome to the Captain's Corner. It's Monday again.
Monday.
Hey everyone, you are live with us at the Captain's Corner. This is your place to find out how Safe Harbor helps all these beautiful people that need help to recover. And today it's the Captain, Kath Hoffman.
Ahoy there.
And Kirsten, the First Mate Marketing. And we have a few topics that we would love to chat today about and give you an update. We want to talk about updates about the permanent shelter and the temporary shelter, and then also about updates with regards to treatment centers in Red Deer. So, Kath, I have a question for you. So the city just posted, I think last week I shared that post that that people can give input again on the permanent shelter location. So I read this and I thought, what the heck? Like, didn't we just go through all this like last year? So is this now any different? Is that because we have a new council? Can you fill us in? Like, why do we want people like to share their opinion again?
Well, yeah, great
Let's
question.
Start with that one.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the other question you asked about, are we going backwards? And like,
yeah,
didn't we do this already? And what's different? And there is something different this time. And you're right, we have been through this process. We've been through it a few times. And what is different this time is that when people are being asked for their input this time, it is based on criteria. So rather than location, like let's say I'm just Joe Blow community member, and I think I know the right place for a shelter. I'm going to let City Council know that I found a good location for shelter. Then, rather than whether or not the shelter should be in that location, the focus is more on, does it meet the criteria that it needs to meet? Okay. So those criteria are different things. Like, we have to think about how close is it? You know, is it far away? Too far away to be workable. So let's say here I am again, Joe Blow community member, and I know there's a great spot on the outskirts of town there in the industrial area. There's no neighbors around. That would be a good spot for a shelter. Then for a service provider and as a service provider, my question is, how are people going to get there? And so then we think, well, we'll bus them out there, right? So, okay, we have to remember that the population that Safe Harbor is serving are, on the majority of the time, are higher intoxicated, various states of intoxication, right? So that busing people is going to be challenging, not just for the bus driver, but also for the people, are they going to want to get on a bus? You know, this is, there's a model in Calgary, I think it's the Mustard Seed, that operated a shelter and put it out that way. And they have like really high transportation costs that have to get covered, right? So the Mustard Seed typically serves sober people. So that's a different crowd. That's a little bit easier crowd to transport, right? So that's just an example on some of the criteria. The city has all of that really good detailed information on their website. If you just Google City of Red Deer permanent shelter input or something like that, and you have the link too, Kirsten, I know you'll share it on this post, and we shared it on our Facebook. But just if you've forgotten and you think, where's that dumb link again? Just remember permanent shelter update City of Red Deer, and you'll get right to their website, and then follow that narrative on how to, give your input or see those criteria and look at them in greater detail, right? So that's a little bit of the difference this time. So, and I think what you asked about, is this because of a new council? Well, we have a lot of old council members still on our council, of course, and it's not so much about the new council but rather their new mandate of being as transparent as they can through this process. You know, a lot of times earlier on in the last few years, it hasn't been that transparent. So this new mayor and council are really determined to make that be so. And we've also got a lot of experience in the last couple of years of looking at locations, building that criteria together with the city, right? And figuring those things out. So now we can narrow that focus. And rather than it being about where should the shelter go, period, but where should the shelter go that meets these criteria, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's also really important for people to do that right away, because they are like you and really aware of the fact, hey, we've been here, we've done this, let's expedite this process as best we can, while still giving people lots of opportunity, right? But let's get this going. So that's why you see a quick turnaround here. This is in the next few weeks, they're gathering this information, right? And offering to set up these meetings, people, and or online survey. They're giving us lots of options on how we can express ourselves, what we want to say, right? So I think that's the difference, is all that we've learned on that process in the last couple of years. And just wanting to be as transparent as possible and get this thing going on. That's, everybody's in agreement. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. So, yeah, perfect. So I will, and I was just, while we talk, I just looked up the date. So we have time until June 10th.
Yeah. So that's quick, because apparently May is going to be over right away.
I know, next week. So, okay. And we can see, so I would suggest, like, everyone go to the city website, check it out. So I don't see like that the criteria are on here, but maybe we need to click further.
Yes, they are. You just got to go a little deeper.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, and that, I totally wasn't aware about this, but I think it's a much better approach than just focusing on location, because like it doesn't matter if we had a location somewhere and then suddenly the transportation costs are high or nobody goes even there, then we have the shelter and it's empty. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. And so, you know, I say kudos to council for still hanging in there.
Yeah.
And doing all they can to make sure everybody's heard, right? And has an opportunity. The other thing that council will be doing is having that location, that new site, determined by the July 18th. At the city council meeting that night, that they've said we have to have a site by this time. So again, you know, in the grand scheme of things, this has taken a long time, but in the very short term of things, in the last few months, this is like, okay, bang, 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 let's go, you know. So a few of them were vocal about, hey, we got to get shovels in the ground, right? Chicken Louie, like, it's time to make a decision. And so that's good too. They're going to take this input from the community that they gather right quick. They're going to look at it close, and then they're going to pick a location, recognizing they're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah. Yeah. We can never make everybody happy, I guess.
I know that's the hardest thing about being a captain, is when I have to make a decision that is based on the needs of the many compared to the needs of the few. Because when you do that, it's like you haven't acknowledged the needs of the few, when it's quite the contrary. You know, they're the hardest ones to make, because the needs of the one are really big. You know, so it's a hard one. It's a hard place to be, but I think we've got the leadership in place to sail through it and get to the horizon where the permanent shelter lives.
Yes.
It's time. So
that was like with regards to the permanent shelter. Are there any updates to the temporary shelter, Kat?
Yeah, there are actually.
Tell us.
Things are moving right along. We've been able to get settled in a little bit better, a little safer, with some renovations that we had done, or just getting finished now this week, I think. And that was, if you remember, when we moved into the temporary shelter, that was a COVID emergency order. And we just had to take our operation and plunk it in there. And we did that in a day, and we were operating again that night. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But the Cannery Row site is wonderful with all the space it has, but it also poses a lot of challenges for the staff and their sight lines and their communication abilities. Because if our staff rely a lot on communicating non-verbally with each other to keep fires at a minimum, if you will, you know, and when they're way far away from each other, that's really hard. So in the last year, well, just about, we've been there for 2 years, I guess already. Holy doodle. You know, we've been able to renovate a little bit to help that, but now that we're going to be there until next year in February, we were able to renovate some walls and things that made it much easier for the staff and the sight lines that they have, because there's a lot of people to watch over in a really big space. So we needed to do a little bit more design and some, yeah. And we were also able to enhance our laundry equipment. So we just had a washer and a dryer, and if you can appreciate, we have about 80 people sleeping in there every night. They have a little fleece blanket that have to get washed all the time. So we were lucky to get our hands on another washer and dryer. Yeah, so that's great too. So other than that, things are going okay. As we talked about with Amanda from the Downtown Business Association last time on Captain's Corner, we continue to work with them to try and keep the neighborhood as garbage free as we can, and try and coexist considering everything. Yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's good.
Okay. Yeah. And I think on June 1st, which is in 2 days, like the party, I'm calling it, the music is starting again. So people can come and experience downtown. So everyone that would love to show like how, or support downtown, like this is a great opportunity to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kath, like, can you share, like we talked to, we talked about treatment centers.
Yes.
So is there any updates on treatment centers here in Red Deer?
There are some updates. And last week, my leadership team and I went to tour the Dream Center. You remember we had Vince on here telling us about the Dream Center. So we were able to do a walkthrough and see all the work they've done in designing that to get ready for people. I know they still need some community support as far as dollars to help them so that we can get that service operating as soon as we can. We know, I think about all the times over the years, how often I've heard our community say so loud, we need a residential treatment center in Red Deer. For Central Alberta, is basically a residential treatment-free zone, right? And so finally, we're getting to that point, and here with this brave crew over there at the Dream Center that have been working tirelessly to have the money to do that. It's extraordinary, but they still need our help. And yeah, so for all of those people out there in the community that we're wishing and hoping and praying for a treatment center, the Dream Center definitely could use your help. And that's a faith-based program. So we're lucky to have an option, because we also have very quickly coming up the Recovery Community Residential Treatment Center. And that was first announced in May, I think, of 2019, maybe 2020. Yeah, where there were 5 communities identified in the province that were going to have a residential treatment center come to it, which was great. It's part of the Alberta government's recovery plan. right? So Red Deer was the first one to get announced. And right now, that location is just on the end of Gates, very end of Gates, just heading out to 2A to Black Falls. Just on the right-hand side of the road there, you can see all of the development that's going on. The building itself is a modular model, and on all of those modulars have been built off site, and they're just starting to come now. The site has been serviced and all of that stuff that it needs to do, and then they come and they plop these modulars on it, and it doesn't take long before then that it's ready to go, right? It's really cool. So now we have, as a community, been wondering about what's the details on this, that we haven't been able to find out too much information about it, right? So the Central Alberta Addictions Consortium that I'm a part of, we wrote a letter to Marshall Smith, who is, I think he's the chief Alberta Mental Health and Addictions. And we asked him if we could talk to him about this, and he was so quick to respond, and we set up a meeting right away the next week, and he was very happy to tell us lots of things about this residential treatment program. So we learned that it will be 75 beds, 50 of them will be for males and 25 for females. And the two genders are going to be separated completely through the duration of their treatment. So it's almost like two treatment centers attached to each other, but they'll have even their own like cafeterias and things there. So they will be kept separate through that. The other thing that was really cool that we found out, I was really encouraged to hear, was that people, typically when you hear about a residential treatment program, they will tell you it's a 28-day program or a 60-day program, maybe 90. And so you go in knowing that's how long your treatment is going to last, right? But this model is taking a different and much smarter, no, I shouldn't say smarter, because they're both smart and they both work for people. But this is a little bit, well, this is 100% individualized. So Kirsten, you might go to treatment, and after 3 months, it appears like, holy doodle, you probably don't need to be here anymore. You've kind of got, you've got really strong and healthy community connections already, blah, 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 blah. You might only need to be there for 3 months. Whereas I might go in there and they might say, oh, holy doodle, Hoffman, you're going to need to be here for a while. I can tell, right? Like, yeah, we're going to have to keep you here. And that is, of course, totally dependent on what do I need? How many resources do I need to have all around me before I'm going to be successful out there on my own? And so that's a beauty. And that might be a year. You and I might go in on the same day, and you might be out in 3 months, and that's your call when you feel like you're ready. That's a wonderful thing. It's just it's just a wonderful thing. It's just so client-centered that it's really encouraging for me to hear that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you know, Kat, is this a model that has been adopted from other cities that have been doing that this way?
I think it's a model that's been recognized finally as a best practice. This, we've been doing things for a long time the same way, and it's now our opportunity to recognize the research, the evidence that shows, holy doodle, people are different. They need different things. They can't just go into this cookie cutter box program and well, I shouldn't say they can't, but because as I said before, those programs too are good, because they're going to find those people that are great for 30 days and that's all they need. And a lot of people recover from addiction on their own. And they never do anything. They never go anywhere to get help from it. But typically those people also have a great connection team around them, family, still have a job. I still have my housing. my drinking was getting in the way, but you know, I've cut down now, so I'm only doing, you know, this much or whatever, or I stop completely,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they have that, you know, that foundation of hasn't crumbled all the way, you know,
Yeah.
whereas someone like myself, like I said, if I was going, they'd say, Hoffman, you have to stay here forever. There's no hope for you, Hoffman. Yeah. So this is exciting. And like I said, I was really encouraged to hear about the individualization of that length of program. Well, I just thought, oh, that's so great. Yeah. So they are, they'll be doing a request for proposals for a service provider. So that's not determined, right? The province has built the building and now they're going to show it out and let, you know, people who are providing that service bid for it. So that will be coming out. I anticipate probably pretty quick. Looks like they've done a lot of work on that. It might be a little, you know, they'll have a good idea of what they want you to propose. These are the things, these are our criteria, and we want you to meet these. So that's great. And then they think probably it could be like fall, maybe, you know, late fall, early winter, and they'll be ready to go. And that would be awesome. Like, so we're gonna have 2.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that means like suddenly we would have 2 treatment centers in Red Deer. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. And yeah, that's going to help so much. It's a really tough bit. You remember that at Safe Harbor, we provide detox, which is typically a 7 to 10 day stay, right? As your brain and your body gets a little healthier. Because if you just went to treatment from that spot, you're kind of not there. You know, you need to, we also need to make sure people are healthy enough, excuse me, to go, right? So our detox program is there, and maybe I've gone to detox and now I'd like to go to treatment.
Yeah. So
you can
maybe
appreciate that's a really small window.
Yes.
And now having 2 more treatment centers to refer people to, especially local ones, we don't have to worry about transport, you know, the transportation problem, getting people to treatment from here. Ideally, they wouldn't have to wait so long to get there. If we know that they're going next week, maybe we can keep them a little longer at detox, or maybe they'll take them a little earlier once, you know. So it's going to be a good working relationship, I'm sure, with our doctors at detox and the intake process at both treatment centers. Right. And both of them recognizing too the amount of opioid usage we have right now and the need for that medical withdrawal support, you know. And so if I'm going to detox and the docs there are putting me on Suboxone, and if I go to treatment at either one of those 2 treatment centers, they're going to honor that. And even though they're abstinence based, they're going to recognize this is a medical intervention. We're going to support you in that. You know, in the olden days, before we got smarter, people couldn't be on methadone or any kind of opioid replacement therapy, right? Because it was seen as you're not abstinent, right? Which is, so thankfully, the medical model reigned supreme. And we said, hey, we got to help these people. This is a tough gig. And this is the way to do it, right? And that recognition provincially is wonderful. I guess like, whoa, lights are on.
That's really good.
Lights are coming on. It's good.
Yeah. I just, while you were talking about the recovery center, I just thought like maybe we should share for our listeners like why we at Safe Harbor say that we are the first step to recovery, because before people can go into one of those treatment centers, they need to be sober. So this is why Safe Harbor is so important, because if somebody wants to go to a treatment center, they need to go to through detox first, right? Okay. Is there anything else that?
That's correct. That's right. Perfect explanation. And also, I extend that first steps of recovery even as far as the shelter. even though people are still active in their addiction. Because what we also have learned, all of us over the years, is without a connection to healthy supports, that recovery takes way longer, way longer. And when you have a staff, you know, maybe checking you over on your mat on the floor in the shelter, and they're building relationship and talking to you, that right there is, without it, it's not there. There is no connection. They're just wherever, right? So even that little bit, which seems very small, it's very, very big when it comes to the time when Buddy's saying, I'm really tired of this. Can you help me get to detox? Yes. Yes, we can. Let's go over there. Let's see, and they can get you in, right? Like that piece, that connection. It's so important. And, you know, imagine if you're the family member of Buddy who's in the shelter, homeless, and he's not ready to go to detox yet, right? How much do you value the connection that the Safe Harbor staff are keeping their eyes and ears open on him, right? That's a first step to a family's recovery. Here is a team that I can talk to. I can, you know, they'll, all of that, right? It's so important. And it seems not, but it is major. Major. Yeah. So awesome. Providing first steps to recovery all the way through. I'm back again. Forever and ever, amen.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much for these updates. I think that was very valuable with the recent happenings. So I think it's really important for people to know why we are looking at the permanent shelter situation again. And so I will post like the link to the to the city website in our comments so that people can take a look and give their input. And
Kirsten, while we have people's attention, can we bring to mind about the need for socks again?
Yes.
And fleece blankets. And the reason we're particular about saying fleece blankets is that they have to be really light because we have to wash them all. And we only have these 2 little wash machines, right? So that's why we say fleece blankets, just a nice little light blanket. And also, the other thing we need to say before we say goodbye is go Oilers.
Go Oilers.
Go Oilers. Oh, what a hockey game those have been. Go Oilers.
Okay. Go Oilers. Thank you so much, Kay. So if you have any questions, you guys, with regards to any of the things that we talked about today, please put them in the comments and we will get back to you. And as always,
steady as she goes.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.